Do you know the difference between a crane and a heron? Or where you can find the red-cheeked salamander? Or why opossums are always on the move? Well, you can find the answers to these questions and more at tnwatchablewildlife.org, a website dedicated to teaching you more about our many wild neighbors. On this episode of Tennessee Outdoor Journal, we'll catch up with some of TWRA's biodiversity team members as they build and install a protective cave gate on a very important habitat for bats. We'll learn from the best, Jason Holland, how to rig and fish a bait known as the Shaky head. Emily Buck and Jason Harmon are in the kitchen at Buffalo Ridge Refuge, cooking up a dove pot pie. This season of Tennessee Outdoor Journal, we open the cover and salute the men and women who have dedicated their careers to wildlife conservation. We'll share some of our special stories from years gone by, as well as current work being done by your Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. What kind of legacy will we leave when our days upon this earth are gone? Tell me who will carry on this work that we've begun, care enough to be the keeper of the dream. As usual, we'll share a few tips and tricks to enhance your outdoor experience. Let's turn the page.
Well, Tennessee is really special. We have over 10,000 caves in the state, one of the highest density of caves by area anywhere in the world. This cave is a winter hibernaculum for tricolored bats. Before white-nose syndrome, tricolored bats were really the most abundant, commonly seen bat in caves. Recreational caving on TWRA-owned caves has been closed since about 2010 because around that time we discovered this deadly fungus called white-nose syndrome that's decimated bat populations in eastern North America, and now it's spread to the western part of North America.
How far are you coming to the top rock? I began bat research and bat work after the introduction of white-nose syndrome, so all I've known is the decline, sort of the desperation, numbers constantly going down, seeing sick bats, and you know, our bats are facing so many stressors across the U.S., and because we can't find a cure for this white-nose syndrome, because we can't introduce something to kill off the fungus because it could throw off the balance of something else within a cave system, we have to do something to reduce the stressors across the board and improve their habitat. And this is one of the most sound ways during one of the most critical time periods to reduce a certain level of stressors.
When bats go into caves in the winter to hibernate, they only have enough fat reserves to make it through the winter. And this fungus starts growing in the bat's skin cells, and it causes the bats to wake up. But the problem is they wake up so much to clear the infection that they burn all their fat reserves before they can leave the cave and find food on the landscape. And when recreational cavers go in and they shine their light on a bat or make a lot of noise, they also cause the bats to wake up. And so it's just sort of a compounding effect. And this particular cave has a fairly small population of tricolored bats, but the population has really fallen since white-nose syndrome was introduced, and their populations have declined by about 85 to 90% in the state. And they're now proposed endangered federally under the Endangered Species Act, where we're starting to manage our caves and you know, close up the ones that recreational caving is a problem in. It's a management tool. You know, if our signs had been enough, this would not have been necessary, but you know, our signs at this particular cave, it's so accessible, it wasn't enough. So we kind of made the tough decision to go ahead and gate it just to keep people out and give the bats a fighting chance. 6 feet on that one.
Every cave gate is different because every entrance is different. You also have to build your cave gate based on what species are hibernating in the cave or using the cave.
Push it to where you like it. Can't do it. It's going to be different. So 7.5. The thing that I've learned building cave gates is that nothing is ever square and nothing is ever going to go as planned. And really it's problem solving. There we go. I was wondering why it didn't seem right.
With cave gates, I've learned to use a cutting torch, which I'm proud of myself for. Learned to weld on this cave gate, not very well, but I learned.
We have, no desire, and it's not an effective management tool to gate all of our caves, only the ones where recreational caving is a problem and there are endangered bats. Basically, we use a 2-team system to build the gate.
But I think at this point, we have our system down.
One team operates a oxyacetylene torch, cutting torch, to cut all the metal to length, and then brings it up the hill to the welder and the construction workers on top who are actually building the cave and putting it together. But of course, those 2 teams mesh a lot, and the cutters end up helping weld and hold metal, and we kind of all help each other out when we need it.
This one only took us 3 days. I'm impressed with that. So when I was hired on with the agency, I was hired on with biodiversity. So in my mind, that's surveying animals. I thought it was going to be a lot of hands-on with our greatest conservation needs species. Well, I'm really excited that I was wrong and that I actually do get to be part of the management for those species as well. Because it's one thing to collect data and do research, but it's another thing to actually implement management practices that are going to benefit the species.
What we've seen in the caves that we've gated previously is when you keep people out, the bat population starts to grow, and we're hoping that we'll see the same trend in this cave.
Hey everybody, Jason Holland with Jason Holland Fishing, here bringing you the real secrets on the Shaky Head. All right, today we're going to talk about the Shaky Head. The Shaky Head may be one of the greatest fish catching lures that's out there. No matter if it's hard time to catch them, if it's hot, if it's cold, if the bite's tough, a Shaky Head seems to always get big. And really all you're doing is you're downsizing everything and going to a more finesse type approach. All right, so now we're going to talk about how you rig this, and we'll use the Zoom trick worm and also the 1/4 ounce football. This is a screw lock. Show you how that works. So a little trick that I like to do is, you see how this head of this worm actually kind of comes down to a point, and we're trying to put that on the screw lock. So it's something that makes it really easy to do is kind of go down about 3 of these little ridges, just bite it off. Now, make sure you don't throw that piece of plastic in the water. Put it in the right place. Then, now as you can see, we kind of got a more flat head that we're going to screw onto the screw lock. So all you do is put it on there, get that point in, and then all you're going to do at that point is exactly like it says. You're just going to screw it on. As you twist it, just kind of let it roll through your hand, twist it on. You want to try to take it as close as you can up to the head and give it a good clean presentation. So a couple things that you can do. A lot of people will hook it on the worm flat part. I like to do it, again, just to give something the fish haven't seen. I'll do it a little bit different. So we'll go here where the hook ends. That's where we're going to grab. We'll stick our hook through there. And then from there, you just kind of thread it on and have that look there. Or another way you can do it is if you're fishing some areas that is more rock and less areas to hang up, you actually can just leave that hook point out a little bit, which will give you the option to have a little bit better hookup and you're not trying to pop it through plastic. So that's one option. Now, we'll do another option real quick. I'm just going to pull this off here. Is the other type of Shaky Head, and this is going to be with the more exposed hook. Run it through here, did that wrong. Flip that through there and just thread it on there. And then you'll pop it out, slide that up on your shaky head worm. So from there you've got kind of an exposed hook version, and again, if you're not around a lot of structure, having the exposed hook is always going to help your hookup ratio. So now we're going to take our jig head and we're going to put our soft plastic and show how that connects. Again, as you can see, this has a screw lock, and this is designed to screw into the head of your soft plastic. This again is the 4.5 missile quiver that we're going to use. This right here is my favorite setup. Really gets you a lot of bites. So here's how you do it. Again, this is great because it has a flat head. Really makes it easy to go on these screw locks. So take your soft plastic, put it right there, and all you're going to do literally is just screw it on. Now, as you can see, this is what it looks like. Let me straighten it up just a little bit more, and there you go. And all you're going to do is you're going to bury that hook in the soft plastic, and that's going to help it be extremely weedless and come through a lot of different types of cover. And then again, make sure it's straight. I sometimes have to redo it, but again, that's your setup. As you can see, completely weedless, and as that comes through the water and as you're pulling it, it's going to hop, and then it's going to stand straight up. Again, we don't have the resistance of the water to show you, but you get the idea. You pull it along, hops, and stands up. And that's how you fish a shaky head.
Hey, when the grandkids come to visit, do they plant themselves in front of the TV all day? That's no way to spend the summer. One of the best ways is to get them outdoors and take them fishing on one of Tennessee's beautiful lakes or rivers.
There you go!
It'll open up a whole new world of conversation and wonder and make memories to last a lifetime. To learn more about purchasing your fishing license, visit GoOutdoorsTennessee.com. That's GoOutdoorsTennessee.com.
Hey folks, I'm Emily Buck, Director of Communications at the TWRA, and today I'm joined by the host of Tennessee Wildcats, Jason Harmon, for this Field to Fork segment. Thanks for joining me, Jason.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, we got some fresh dove here from the dove hunt, and we're gonna make pot pies, is that right?
Absolutely. Today on the menu, dove pot pie. It's tasty, it's delicious. They come in individual little serving sizes, perfect for the whole family. Let's get going. So ingredients for a dove pot pie, very traditional if you've ever made a chicken pot pie. Again, poultry's poultry, birds are birds. So we're gonna stick with kind of the basics here. So we've got here in front of us, Jason was an excellent prep chef. We have some chopped carrots, we've got chopped onions, chopped celery, of course some green peas, and our dove. Now for the dove, I went ahead and brined it in a light brine. A brine's really handy to get some moisture into a bird. It also helps if you don't love that gamey taste, a brine or a marinade really helps take wild game to the next level.
Well, and I was gonna say, this is a darker meat too. It's
Yeah.
not your white meat chicken, but it'll be great in this dish.
Absolutely. And so I actually did a little hit of a hickory smoked marinade in with my brine. So a brine, for those of you at home who aren't familiar, is just water with salt and sugar. And the salt in that brine sucks the moisture out of the bird, puts it back in through osmosis, really ups the flavor. That's a little cooking term for you there. So we've got some herbs, some garlic, we've got our little mini coquettes, and so we're gonna take all of these ingredients over to the stove and let's get cooking.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so we've got our pan here on medium heat. We're gonna start by adding our chopped celery to the pan. We're gonna let this start to cook down a little bit. That's about half a cup. Again, about half a cup of carrots. And really all of these measurements, you can do however much you need to feed your family. It's all very adjustable for however you need. Next up, we've got our onions going in. We're gonna let these guys saute a bit before we move on to the next. Okay, folks, now that we have our onions nice and translucent, we're gonna go ahead and add our next batch of ingredients. So we're gonna add here a helping teaspoon of garlic. Listen, when it comes to garlic, y'all, follow your heart. There's no such thing as too much garlic. We're also gonna go ahead and add in our peas. I prefer to use frozen peas over canned peas, but really whatever you have or whatever you want to use is just fine when it comes to these. The fresh frozen peas tend to just maintain a little bit more crunch, a little more crisp than a canned pea would. Next up, we're going to add our Dove. Remember, this Dove had been marinating a little bit, so it's a little juicy, but that's just fun. We're going to throw it in and let it start to cook off a little bit. These are small pieces, and Dove is lean, so it will not need to cook for very long at all. Okay, so now we're ready for our seasonings. We're gonna add ourselves a couple scoops here of salt. We've got thyme, rosemary, and some fresh ground pepper.
Looking good.
All right, Jason, we're gonna turn the heat down to simmer, to low, and we're gonna go ahead and start working on the roux or the sauce part of our pot pie. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our flour, we're gonna give it a couple scoops here. And this flour will help thicken up our sauce. Now we already have some fat in the pan from the butter, but we're gonna go ahead and add a little bit more as well. Let's go ahead and just mix this in so it doesn't get lumpy when we add our liquid. All right. And this is just some homemade chicken stock. Of course, store-bought is fine as well. And we're gonna add enough to kind of cover here our veggies and meat. And this is gonna reduce down as well. And then last touch, a little more fat. We're gonna add a splash of cream, and that really helps just make it delicious and creamy.
So we're gonna let this cook down and then it's gonna be ready for our pastries, correct?
That's right. So this sauce will thicken up. And so while we're letting it do that, let's go prep our little croquettes and get them ready for our pot pies.
Sounds good. I'm ready to eat.
We've got our sauce working on the stovetop. So now's a really good time to go ahead and prep our little mini ramekins. These are 8-ounce ramekins. They come with a lid. We're not going to use the lid today, but really any size ramekin you want to use for your family is just fine. You'll just want to adjust your ingredients to be able to fill these up.
So you could do this in a larger pan if you wanted to, right?
I do that all the time at home. I'll actually, in the brazier that we're using on the stovetop today, I'll actually lay one whole sheet of puff pastry on top of that. But for this size, it's actually pretty easy to get them to have little bitty toppers. It's very cute for presentation or for a party if you don't want to fool with serving. You want to be able to set one of these onto a little place setting. I usually turn it upside down just like that.
Okay.
And you'll see it leaves a little impression. Perfect. And this works out. So this is our sheet of puff pastry. It actually was folded into 4 quarters. So you can kind of see. And you'll want to cut a little bigger than the impression, so you have a little bit of extra space to seal it with.
Gotcha. So 1/4 of an inch bigger?
That's just fine. Any extra you can always go back and trim off. So it's better to leave it a little big and have extra trim than to go too small and it not fit.
Perfect. All right. I think I got it.
Now with puff pastry, you want to work a little quick because the butter in this will start to melt. You're a great sous chef, Jason.
My name's not Sue.
Okay, perfect. So an easier way to get these out is actually just to sacrifice the scraps a little bit here.
And that's all right. We'll deal
We'll
with that.
sacrifice that little bit there, no problem. Okay, and we'll just set this aside. I usually save this, make a little breakfast pastry, or you can make more pot pies with it.
Should we go check the mixture?
Let's go check it.
All right.
So we're gonna go ahead and bring the heat up a little bit more so you can go ahead and start getting a little bit of bubbling going on.
Now it's starting to simmer a little bit better and cook down a little bit.
That's right. All right, I think that's about good. All right, Jason, this looks just right, so I'm gonna let you do the honors, carry it back over to our workstation, and we'll get ready to load up our ramekins.
Perfect. Does look good.
All right, Jason, you go ahead and fill those up. Leave about a 3/4 of an inch at the top,
Okay.
just so they don't bubble over when they're in the oven. You'll have a mess in your oven if you fill them too full. I like to place them on a baking sheet when I put them in the oven. It makes them easier to pull in, pull out, and actually, let me go ahead and have just a tiny bit more.
A little bit more.
A little bit more, please. Perfect, thank you. So then you're gonna take your little puff pastry crust and you're gonna put it on the top. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna seal it down, and you can kind of do a decorative crimp. You can put little puff pastry art on top if you like. But really what we're doing here is just sealing it to the edge so that it stays on. And then we're gonna take our little knife here and we're gonna make a little bit of a vent hole. This is gonna let the liquid continue to cook off. It's gonna let the steam come out.
That one's mine, by the way. It's got more meat in it.
Oh, I see that little bit of favoritism from the prep chef, huh? That's the good thing about cooking in the kitchen. You get to make it your way.
So once we get the tops on, we're gonna cook these at what, 350?
We've got the oven preheating at 350, and you're gonna wanna cook for 15 to 20 minutes or until this puff pastry is nice and golden brown. Keep an eye on it because every oven is a little bit different. We're actually cooking in a convection oven, so it may go a little quicker, but just be sure you keep an eye on it so you don't burn your puff pastries. Okay, so our little vents are important. That lets the steam out so that they can continue to cook off without exploding. And then our last step here, we're gonna take a little bit of this egg wash. This is just one egg with some water in it. And we're just gonna brush the tops of these. That helps it get nice and golden brown. It helps the edges stick. And you'll see I just sort of take the fork and go around again, and that just helps with our seal. You also can do this with a pastry brush. I try to reduce the number of dishes I have to wash later, so I just use a fork.
Awesome.
All right, and then one last finishing touch. We're gonna add a sprinkle of sea salt on the top.
I'll get it. So what's that do? Just adds flavor, or?
It's gonna add a little bit of flavor. It's gonna add a little bit of texture on the top of the pastry crust. And really, it just helps it make it look pretty. So
Awesome.
Always helpful. So now we're gonna grab our baking sheet. We're gonna load this up and we're gonna head to the oven. All right, Jason. Important job, don't drop it.
I won't,
Okay.
promise.
And we're off to the oven.
Right in the center.
That's good.
All right.
15 to 20 minutes in a regular oven. This is convection. It's going to cook a little bit faster, so we're going to keep an eye on it, and we'll clean up the kitchen a little bit while those work.
Sounds good. Let's do it. Got to suit up.
Okay, I'm going to open this door, and I think we're ready. All right.
Let's do it. Wow. Look at that puff.
Fully puffed.
Awesome.
All right, folks, we're out of the oven. We've got 4 Dove pot pies here. Now you can see we've had a range of success with our puff pastry, and you know what? That's just fine if you're feeding your family. We had one that puffed up really beautifully. We've got 2 right in the middle, and then this one sunk a little bit, but I'll tell you what, it's still gonna eat good.
It's gonna be just fine.
Now, if you don't have any of these little ramekins at home, it's absolutely okay for you to make one full-size one. So you saw we cut out the puff pastry. You actually can lay that puff pastry on top, whole, still cut your vents in it so that the extra liquid can escape. And the other thing that I do at home, if I don't have puff pastry, but I have regular pie crust, or if I feel like making a regular pie crust instead of a puff pastry, if I'm doing it from scratch, you actually can take the full-size pan and line it like you would a traditional pie. So you can put the pie crust down on the bottom, fill it with your filling, and then add the pie crust on top. With these little cuts, you don't really have quite enough space to line it. You could if you wanted to, if you like that extra bit of crust. I'd rather have extra filling instead of extra crust. And then with this puff pastry, you only do that on top. You don't line that on the bottom because it wouldn't puff.
Right.
So you would only do the bottom lining with a traditional pie crust. Now, we think these have cooled just enough, so we're gonna risk it. Let's have a taste. You
go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, ladies first. Make sure you get down in there and get some of that Dove.
Okay, there's a bite of Dove right there.
So you didn't get any pastry with that bite.
I'll have to go back for more. I don't think I'll complain about it. There you go.
There we go.
What do you think?
Great.
All right, pretty tasty. Well, folks, if you're heading out into a Dove field this season, maybe give our pot pie a try. Dove dumplings, another great choice. And I've even heard some people suggest a Dove fajita. Oh, very interesting. Maybe we'll try that next time. All right, thanks for hanging out with us today as we made our Dove pot pie. I'm Emily. This is Jason.
Thanks for joining us.
Happy cooking.
Tennessee Outdoor Journal is produced by your Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Tell me who will carry on this work that we've begun. Care enough to be the keeper of the dream. This legacy. Thanks for watching this episode of Tennessee Outdoor Journal.